passion, perseverance, vision, and grit. That's what we're talking about today. We're having two phenomenal guests on. You're going to want to pay attention. If there's anything that you think is getting in your way, you're going to be able to get it out and get over it and move forward. So first guest, real estate agent. She has the energy of the Tasmanian devil and a heart of Mother Teresa. Welcome, Dana Ben.
Hi, Joe. Thanks so much. That was Tasmanian devil. I like it.
Absolutely. When you come into a room and we have a conversation, you never know where it's going to go, and it's always full of energy. The devil is probably the wrong word. That's why I threw in Mother Teresa, because you got the heart of you got a wonderful heart. You do some great stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
You bet. So let's get into it. Real estate. You're a real estate agent, and quickly, how'd you get into it?
Well, I actually moved from Canada about 9 years ago, and I was a teacher. A lot of agents were teachers. I didn't want to go into teaching, but I wanted to do something different. So I was switching up my life. I decided I was going to use a very tight budget with my own home to decorate it. And then my real estate agent said, you're really good at this. Do you want to come stage a house? I didn't even know what that meant. Funny story. So I was like, well, what does that mean? So I looked it up, helped her stage a house with my own personal furniture and my little decor pieces that I had. And the property sold. So I went and saw a sign of one of these top agents in the neighborhood. I saw his signs everywhere. I went up to him and I said, hey, I want to be a stager. And he's like, do you have a website? And I'm like, no, but I can get one. I went to tyler.com and he taught me how to create my own website, started marketing myself as a home stager. And because of that, I was like, let me get my real estate license to help my agents out, because I was marketing myself as a home stager. I got my first listing. And ever since then, my first year, I just sold 37 homes out the door. I didn't even know anybody here. And it was wonderful. And it still has been. It's an incredible career.
That is a really fortuitous start. And just the way you saw the opportunity, you have an entrepreneurial backbone for sure to be able to see that. So how long ago was that?
So that was about 8 years ago. So I started in July of 2016, right? Okay. And so it was really special because I didn't know I was an entrepreneur, Joe. I had no clue. I was just doing what, I was trained to do. Go talk to people. It was so funny. People would be just like, okay, what is the percentage of listings and how do we divide that? And everything about to do with listing a product. I just followed the instructions. And then I went out and talked to people. If I was at the car wash, at the nail bar, if I was at the airport, anywhere I went, people in America love to talk about real estate. They do. No matter who they are, their age, like even my kids, they're teenagers. They like to talk about real estate. Like, ooh, what's that house you're selling, Mom? Where is it? So I really enjoyed learning the process and educating my clients around the process, because that empowers them. You don't want a couple to say, oh, okay, I know what due diligence is, but I don't, get them all on the same page, make them feel empowered. And then I was like, I'm an entrepreneur. Okay, cool. I'm owning my own business. Yeah. So it was great. It's been amazing.
Yeah, it still is. So let's talk about we talked about when it first came in, I mentioned having some adversity. When we first met, you went through some, and let's talk about how your mindset and how you got through that.
Yeah. So the challenge, along the way at work, I will tell you, learning curve was huge. I didn't even know how to do comps. I used to cry doing comps. And the way I went about that was I used to befriend my fellow agents in the office. I found the comp queen and I said, can you teach me? She said, I don't really have time for you. I said, okay, well, how about I stage a house for you for free? And she's like, oh, okay, how about that? So we did a trade-off. I did trade-offs with listing presentations, with learning how to hire, with all of what I had to give my fellow agents and what they had to give me. We just did a trade-off. And that's how I slowly overcame those along the way, not to mention, with challenges with luxury listings was another huge challenge, especially the listings, because you have to get to know your clients at a very high level. So the challenge was me understanding that, okay, personality is great, like you can talk to people, relate to people, but I never had a sense of purpose around what I was talking about, right? Like, where are you going with the conversation? It's one thing you talk about the kids, blah, blah, but you want to get to know, and this is what I was trained later, what do they do for work? I used to be embarrassed to ask that, like, what does your husband do? And what do you do for a living, right? So, but then you get to understand how they delegate. So that was a challenge in the beginning, those things along the way. Other challenges are your time away from your family. Oh my God, Joe, I used to work 14 to 16-hour days. I'm not kidding, right? And so that was another challenge, brought me to the table of, okay, how do I level this out? How do I find that balance is a big ticket with real estate. And also finding time for myself to feed myself, right? To take care of, and this is where it comes to, like, what do I love to do? What am I passionate about outside of taking care of my clients?
Was there ever doubt that you were going to be successful at this?
There was no doubt. And I was telling a story to somebody else, which was really funny. We had a course that we took at the very beginning of training with Keller Williams, and it was called Ignite, right? And so I was supposed to write down what I wanted to make that first year. And we're talking like 2 weeks in, right? I wrote $40,000. And one of my trainers, and Brian Pate at the time, he comes up and he's like, what's that? And I'm like, well, you said, how much do I want to make? He's like, well, let me guess. You're substituting your old income, right? So sharp, real estate agents. Like, I just think they're brilliant. Okay. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. He's like, think bigger. Think bigger. Like, what would scare the daylights out of you? So I wrote $150,000, and it did scare the daylights out of me. But then I went off and I'm like, I got to work on it. So I never had a doubt, but I had some fear around thinking big, thinking very big. Mm-hmm.
And that's now your way. I mean, this conversation we were having not too long ago, there's nothing getting in your way.
No, and this is the thing, right? I have to remove any doubt. It just doesn't exist for me. It really doesn't, because you work hard, you prove it, and then you're like, but I've done it before. So no, there's no doubt in my mind. And go for a walk, I meditate, I visualize, and I just own, this is my listing. I'm going to win this, or I'm in a multiple offer situation. They're going to pick mine, right? Now, does it always work out that way? No. Most of the time it does, but when it doesn't, I take, okay, what happened? What happened? So you grow that mindset for the next time. You're like, okay, the conversation with the client could have been better. I could have, the listing agent didn't answer my calls. How can I get to him or her? So you keep closing that gap.
Yeah. And one of the things I got from our conversation the other day was you are super learning based, and it's not just books. You get it from people. And I found that a great statement. You said, people are your teachers. Can you explain that?
Oh my God. So I've lived in about 9 different countries. Okay. And this is what taught me to connect with strangers. Strangers are my best friends. Like, I love strangers. Why? Because you meet them, you talk, they teach you something. And it could be the guy in Whole Foods is giving you your meat. He can teach you a recipe, down to when you're talking to another about their life, it's relatability. It's like, how does this impact me? And what happened to me? Oh yeah. And then you relate. So are the best teachers. Why? Because experience cannot be written. Like, you can only have so many experience. You can only have so many books to share, experience. So when you're talking to others and you're learning their lives and you're learning their inspiration. That's the ticket for me. It's like, what moves you? Okay, so what drives you? Where's your strength? Where's your power? Have you given your power away? And what elevates you? And then I tend to naturally glorify that in other people. I tend to remove all of the pain, and I'm just like, but man, look at what you did here. This is fantastic. And so people describe me as, one person was very kind and described me as just like, Dana, you're like a light switch. You'll go into a room and you'll just find the light switches for people, just like, oh, look at how strong you are. Look at how jolly you are, or whatever. So people are the best teachers, hands down. And that's why I love to get out there and just have even a brief conversation, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And another word I used when I opened up was passion. Now, obviously, you have passion for what you're doing. Let's spin a little bit to what your passion outside of real estate. And I know you mentioned a couple the other day. One had to do with water, and one had to do with helping people in the community.
Yes. So what had to do with what? Did you say water?
The water. You're diving.
Yes. So I love to be active. Okay. And what's happened lately is I've dabbled into a few activities, and some of them I quit because I didn't feel the movement. It's very important to have sense of awareness and tapping into stuff. So scuba diving makes me feel like I'm in heaven. Like I literally am under the water. And when I look up, I feel this sense of peace. And maybe because I stopped talking, because I have a regulator in my mouth and I get to be in silence. Okay. But it's just something that moves me. Archery is another thing I took up that, again, is very spiritual. It's very calm and it's very quiet. So tapping into what I like to, painting is another thing that I like to do. Again, quiet and creative, and gives you more sense of awareness. So I've tapped into my emotions of where I like to dabble into things. Now, coming to helping people. So I'm going to be honest, Joe, I've served.
One second. Before you get into that, earlier you said you were working 14, 16 hours a day.
Yes.
Now you got a bigger business and you're doing a lot more. Tell us how.
Crazy. Okay. I used to believe that hard work, time, grinding, hustle, that's how I have to sustain this income. This is how I stay my life. And then I was like, I cannot do this. I love my career, but there's other things that I love to do as well. So here I'm like, okay, what if I just said, you know what? You don't have to sell 37 or 40. You can sell 15. You're still going to be okay. But why don't we dabble into what you love to do? And because of the joy that it brought me, Joe, nothing happened in my business. Like nothing. Like I was expecting, and I'm going to keep that energy. I'm going to keep that flow. I'm going to keep like, yes, this is mine, and the mindset of abundance. But I'm going to spend some time. And my calendar is really funny. So it has green. Green is always money-making activities. And then my purple is my personal. So my purple started filling up more. My green started going down, and nothing happened.
That's fantastic.
So it was so beautiful, because now I just know that my old mindset is not true. And now I get to have more fun and feed my soul.
Fantastic. Can't say it better than that. Let's talk about your community and our next guest. Before we bring him on, give us an idea of how you got what it's about, and then we'll bring Wes on.
Yeah, so I'll tell you guys something. I started wanting to serve in the community because I missed it. I missed just giving my generosity of myself, my time. And so I joined the YMCA. You know, I got a recommendation, go join the Y. And they started telling me, okay, you can do this, you can do that. And again, tapping into sense of awareness. I love construction. Okay. I love fixing things. I love figuring out, like, even my little soap dispenser. I'm like, how does this work? Let me fix it. Okay. I'm not hiring somebody. I'm going to try to fix it. And this also comes to the career. Okay. Because I want to know the guts of the house and how things come together. And so I went to the Y, found, they're just like, here's a list of things. And I found this organization, NC Adapted Sports, and they were asking for people to come and help build bridges in the community parks. Crabtree, Harris, it was Harris Lake at the time. Okay. And I'm like, oh my God, so this construction, because I wanted to do habitat for him, but I'm like widening the bridges for kids, like, or adults who need to ride their bikes and, you know, adapted bikes. That sounds fantastic. And so I signed up, and it was so fun because I meet Wes, and there was like 4 of us, and I was the only female at the time. I felt so happy, you know, and the first time we were just getting the wood pieces ready to build the bridge. So he was teaching me, so I was learning how to measure. But this is what I noticed about Wes. So first of all of the volunteers were just hovering around him. Can I help? Can I help? And Wes like, no, I got it. And Wes just, I saw him, he has an amputated leg, but the man was a tank. I was like, he was lifting boards, he was like drilling, he was like, and it was like he was living his best life. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm so lucky. I've met a man who started an organization that inspires me. Okay. And that's the ticket. That is the ticket with volunteering. Just like when you go to a school, the leader, that's the principal, that's what everything's going to trickle down to. And so I was staring at him, and I'm like, hey, should we help Wes? He's just like, good luck. Just good luck helping Wes, right? So that moved into me going into the woods and seeing him maneuver, seeing how he talked to the people around him, encouraging them, which led then to an incredible achievement. We built the bridge. It was fantastic. Took a ton of pictures, and I kept doing that. Then I started moving to going to basketball. So Wes is in activities with NC Adapted Sports. He's the co-founder of it. And what they do is they encourage, we're trying to get more kids now, especially, and people who have a disability, to feed their souls, feed their strength, their mindset through sports. And I'm very active. So it's basketball, it is rock climbing, it is kayaking. And so all of these beautiful activities, I'm like, wow. I go to basketball practice on Saturday, and these kids are in wheelchairs. So Wes gets up off of his wheelchair. He's like, okay, your turn, Dana. And he gives me his wheelchair. He's like, I'm going to play basketball. He's like, yeah, go figure it out. That's the way Wes is. He's just go. And I'm like, okay. Oh my God, these kids kicked my rear end. Okay. I was like, oh my God. But I sort of figured it out. I got one basket, but I loved it. And there was a child that was like, I think Jack is like 5 or 6, and just playing with them, connecting with them.
That's great.
So it's been fantastic. So I'm very excited to bring him on and to talk more about how the community can help.
All right. So Wes Hall, North Carolina Adapted Sports.
Here comes Iron Man, people. Okay. Just saying.
All right. We got to get into that. Wes, give us your background, give us your story. How this all came about.
My adventure, my career as an adapted athlete started 1986, 1987. Diagnosed with osteosarcoma as a youth, sock injury. I got x-ray, and they said you had cancer. 5 months later, had an amputation. 9 months later, my mom sent me to an outdoor venture camp for me to figure things out. So I had a prosthetic then, walked up a hill, did all hunky-dory, came down the hill, fell 3-4 times, took the prosthetic off, left it in the tent. So we're going to be hiking like 13, 14 miles in the Pisgah Forest the next day. So kind of jumped in the deep end really quick. So I had to figure things out and realize that my life was not over for that amputation. It's probably just beginning more than anything else. And so it's just a different path in life. And so that kind of the catapulted me into, I had a really supportive friend circle as well. So it's kind of like, what can Wes do? So we did a lot of stupid stuff, but we accomplished a lot of stuff as well. So it's kind of breaking down the barriers of perception of what a person with disability can and cannot do, but also someone with a disability breaking down their own mind barrier of what they can and cannot do as well, which is just as much as a barrier as society barriers are, is also the individual's barrier to find an active lifestyle. So with all that, we were, and all the things that kind of blew out of COVID, we're doing a lot of cycling because I couldn't kayak because the docks were closed. So I was riding on the greenways, and our co-founder and I decided to go hit one of the trails. So we hit one of the trails and realized the bridges were too narrow to ride on our bikes on. So we ride a hand cycle and a recumbent cycle. Known the park ranger for a long time. I said, hey, can we come in and rehab your park to make it accessible for adapted off-road cycles? And he said yes. So we had very little friction from the beginning, and that led to a conversation of starting a nonprofit, NC Adapted Sports. So with us, we realized our horse and the cart, the horse was the trails. We didn't have one place to program. So we spent the first year rehabbing trails. So we rehabbed 10 bridges at Crabtree Lake. So almost the entire trail system is accessible. When I mean accessible, I don't mean easy. It's right. We don't want easy, we want possible. So some of these trails are difficult, and some of these trails I will not take my new athletes on because the consequences are a little more extreme. And then per what Dana was talking about before, our next project was Harris Lake. So we took out 4 bridges in Harris Lake, rebuilt 2 bridges, and 2 bridges we created earthen crossovers. It was a better option for that. So we got the horse taken care of, and then 3 months into our nonprofit, we got our nonprofit status in a month and a half, a lot faster than we thought we would. We were told you got 4 to 6 months to figure things out. And we applied in April, got the notification in mid-May. I'm like, oh, we got to figure things out really quick, really fast. And so applied for a grant with the Dominion Energy. I mean, I was like 3 months in. This would be good practice for me. I'll probably get denied. Got an email, said, hey, welcome. You got $20,000. And like, it looked like one of those junk emails, like this links to click on. So I found connection at Dominion Energy and said, hey, is this legit? Like, this is a legit email from you guys? And like, oh yeah, that's legit. I'm like, okay. So what did I win the money for? Because I had asked for a $10,000 cycle and to the trail. So whatever you wrote the grant for, that's what you get to spend the money on. Like somewhat of unrestricted grant in that perspective. So that catapulted us in. We got our first hand cycle, and then eventually had some friends, the foundation grants gave us some money to get us a youth hand cycle, and then we got a recumbent, and then another recumbent, and then 2 more hand cycles, and then our electric quad cycle, eventually a trailer. So now no longer in my garage, it's in a trailer in my cul-de-sac. So things kind of grew really quick for us. And so after our last bridge build, our ribbon cutting at Crabtree is when we really hit on programs. And so our long range plan was wheelchair basketball, kayaking, and as I mentioned earlier, that things sped up quicker than we thought they would. Within a short period of time, I had a group of parents come to me to start a youth wheelchair basketball team. So I was like, okay, this is good.
I want to jump in. I want to interrupt for a second, Wes. You're making this sound like it's one smooth trajectory, and blows my mind as a 15-year-old kid getting up and doing what you did right from the beginning. Was that the point where you started being like grinding out and moving forward, or were you that kind of kid coming into it?
No, my mom pushed me a lot. So the outdoor adventure camp, we do owner of a surf shop, got me some stuff. I went from like surfing to bodyboarding, and then had a doctor friend of our family who started teaching me how to hydroslide or kneeboard behind the powerboat. That led to swim team. So I had been doing swim team before, didn't really think there's a possibility. First Coach Courtney saw me swim in the pool, said, you need to be on the swim team. And at that time, there's probably a pair of swimming, but in the local summer league, there was no adapted swimming. So I was swimming against my able-bodied peers. Wow. A lot of times beating my able-bodied peers.
Nice.
And that kind of led to that, and then helping my dad coach my dad's soccer team. And then I had a friend of mine in high school, Dr. Travis Honeycutt now, who got me to go take a lifeguard class. And it's one thing. It's like I just went into it not thinking I was not going to be able to do it. I went into it thinking I'm going to get certified as a lifeguard, and so I went into that perspective. And this is the old school lifeguard, so there wasn't a lot of flotation devices like there are now, which wasn't necessarily a great way to save people's lives. Flotation devices are great for that perspective, but I mean, it was old school lifeguard. I mean, 500-yard swim in 10 minutes and body toes and all that kind of stuff like that. And so did that, got a job at the YMCA and started coaching kids and just kind of snowballed from there. So
do you understand how powerful your mindset is to be able to get over these hurdles? I mean, there are agents, there are people, not just real estate agents, people in this world, they let the silliest things get in their way. And here you are physically challenged in a big way, and you're crushing it with whole body humans and peers. That just blows my mind. Like, what are you thinking?
I didn't have I had something like some people say, I don't know what I would do if I was in your shoes. I said, I didn't have a choice. The choice was either death or life. I chose life. I'm going to live life. I can't sulk, sit on the couch and be worried about who I could have been. It's now who I am going to be. And I knew I could have a positive impact on people's lives. I was a good swim team coach. The kids adored me. The parents adored me. It was good watching the kids. There's always able-bodied kids, watching these kids excel and hearing them scream for me. My first year, I was still able to swim for the summer swim team. So they'd lose their mind when I'd get on the block and then beat my fellow swimmers and stuff in certain events. So it was just kind of thing there that it's just, I think people just got to realize sometimes in life is it's intentionality. So I did not want to fill the definition what society may perceive my life to be as an amputee.
Fantastic.
And there's a lot of hurdles. There's a lot of image hurdles like that. I mean, it's like people see me different with a prosthetic versus not a prosthetic. It took me a long while to get to the point where I was okay being in public on a regular basis without a prosthetic. So when I went surfing, obviously I didn't wear a prosthetic. It's probably about, I think my sophomore year at UNC, I had a lifeguard class. Lockers are too small for my prosthetic to be put into. It's not something just leaving the locker room, any kind of campus, it'll walk off. It's on his hands. So I ended up not wearing the prosthetic those days I had the class. And then I started realizing like, this is not that big of a deal. Like I am who I am. I am an amputee. I have to own what I am. This kind of self-actualization perspective of things. I have my weaknesses, I have my strengths. I'm excel in my strengths. And so I also found out I could get around campus a lot faster. So than I could with the prosthetic on some days. So I had my prosthetic days, my prosthetic times, my crutch times, and it varies on what I'm doing, when I wear it, when I don't wear it. But it's just, you've got to have the willingness to improve yourself. And if you don't, then you'll never go anywhere.
And I like that you're giving credit to the people that were around you too. It wasn't just you; it was a team effort that pushed you along, got you going.
Yes, the environment you're in is huge. When I work with athletes, the environment was not great. I've heard some comments from parents that excuses other parents give to them the why their child treated their child with disability a certain way, and I'm going, that's not an excuse. It's just you shouldn't be acting that way. And I think somehow one of my athletes, I told my kids, I said, you guys ever did that? I ever heard about it? Your life will be rough. I mean, I'll put you on a bare floor on a blanket. Or ever let you treat someone that way. Yeah. I'm lucky. None of my athletes are.
That's incredible. So how many people, 2 years in, how many people have been through or in your program have been through it and still in it?
Today we have served 40 unique athletes. We've had, between the trail building and the programs, we have about 650 hours of volunteer time put into it.
Wow.
We have about half of our athletes are youth, that's ages 17 and younger. The other half range from 18 to 81.
Nice. So every age is welcome in.
Every age is welcome in. So there's certain equipment restrictions and stuff like that. So with our youth hand cycle, we have to be a certain size to ride that cycle. And we work with parents trying to figure ways to make it work and set it from there. And so they get involved. Youth wheelchair basketball starts at 6 and goes until high school age. Kayaking starts at age 12, basically for them to be able to be actually sit in the boat versus the boat swallowing them whole. Adaptive climbing with a partnership with the Catlett Sports of Atlanta. We've had ages 5 on the wall climbing and stuff, up to age 60, 70 on the wall climbing. So one thing we've been trying to do is trying to find ways that these were included. It's an inclusive environment. Aside from which basketball, the cycling and the climbing, we're riding the trails with other able-bodied riders. Our kids are climbing the walls next to able-bodied climbers. We don't take over the gym. We take up over a certain route on the climbing wall, and that's what we use for that time we're there. So, and we ride the same trails with our athletes as our able-bodied peers do. So it's been
fantastic,
a good thing.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal thing. So what is it that the community can continue to do for you? What are you looking for to continue to grow?
I mean, like every nonprofit, we need funding. I mean, insurance, website, our CRM, equipment, staffing. So for capacity, we'll get to a certain point now. We're getting close to the capacity we can serve with me. And so bringing more people on to help expand the capacity. So my work weeks, talking about work-life balance, is no longer 7 days in a row. It's a couple of days off and then come back on and be re-energized. Then, but also the funding is a big thing for us. I mean, grants are great. Grants pay for equipment, but grants are usually, like for that say, they're restricted. Very unlikely, very untypical for a grant to pay for operations or staff costs. And there's a lot of effort into a grant. So you got everything you do to get the grant. Then you get the grant. There's all the reporting for the grant. Some grants are real easy. REI gave us a grant. It's unrestricted. I give them a report. They can give them pictures, and they're like happy about it. I've had other grants where I've had to give super detailed analysis of the people we serve, disability, age, et cetera, from there, and geographical location. 40 hours of work for a grant that didn't pay for the data at the time to report the data. So that's the big thing there. We've also created an endowment as an organization as well. We realize that there's a gap in funding and equipment is expensive.
Yeah.
And we don't want socioeconomic to be a barrier for someone to get into adaptive sports. And so upon working on applying for other grants, we're also trying to build our own local endowment so we can get more athletes in the Chicago area involved in active lifestyle.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to post the link to your website. So if anybody wants to get involved there, I'm sure there's opportunities for them to find out, get in touch with you and figure out what they can do.
Yeah, they can contact me directly. My email, I would take a day or two sometimes for me to respond back, but I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So
fantastic. Thank you so much for introducing us to Wes. And you have any words you'd like to say? We heard the story. Would you like to put a cherry on top of this?
Well, Joe, thank you so much for getting the word out there, for interviewing Wes. He's truly one of my inspirations. And this has been so fulfilling, just even going and listening to him and what he's up to and what he's applying for and showing up whenever I can. And I think what I want to say is we always say like every dollar counts, but it really does. What he's trying to achieve is something so phenomenal, and he's working at it very hard every day. And it's so fulfilling for me to just be able to see the strength of other beings, of kids, their mindset, what their challenges are. Also seeing Wes, how he interacts with them and the other coaches and the trainers. He's like, we're playing basketball today. That's what we're doing. It teaches me so much about my life, and I walk out feeling inspired every single time. So I'm very grateful. I really hope the community, just listens to this and, takes notes on it, reaches out to him, because I know that a lot of us are bogged down in our work and we're like, what can I do for me? And this has just been such a blessing for me, right? So it's a very small thing, but it can go a very long way.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both so much for coming on. At the end of my show, I often say a phrase that I got from my mom, and it has never been so fitting. Be your best, have fun. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.